Okay.
Okay. Welcome to the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Allie. I'm a staff minister at OCSL. My pronouns are she and they, and I will be your host for our Wednesday night Oasis service. Oasis is a place where we come together as a community to be spiritually refreshed midweek. Most Wednesday night services build on the theme from the prior Sunday, sharing in a satsang style science of mind principles and practices, with the intention that these gatherings be informal, intimate, and interactive. Our annual theme for 2024 is A Grand Rising, and our monthly theme for September is Pieces into Peace. Last Sunday, Reverend Sunshine Michelle Coleman introduced ideas inspired by this week's theme, Waking Up to Oneness. And tonight, our speaker will continue the exploration of this same topic. If you're new to our community or new to watching our recording, please visit our website at oaklandcsl.org and click on the I'm New icon. Look at the lower left-hand corner of that page to submit your email address. And once you do, you'll start receiving our weekly newsletter, The Village News. It has all the information, or at least almost all the information, about what's happening in our center in the coming weeks. Before we start the talk, please mute your microphone if it's not already. When you mute, it will improve the quality of our recording and tonight's transmission. And you can leave your cameras on if you like. And finally, please stay tuned through the end of the service to hear several important announcements. Our speaker tonight is Reverend Deb Hammond, who's also a religious science practitioner. Reverend Deb is an ordained interfaith minister by way of One Spirit Seminary and has been a licensed practitioner in Centers for Spiritual Living since 2009, starting in the Oakland area. She has a passion for supporting others in the transformation of expressing their authentic selves, using various spiritual practices, including meditation, affirmative prayer, and visioning. She supports others in rediscovering their truth and recognizing their true expression of the one, whole, perfect, and amazing exactly as they are. She is a wisdom seeker, a person who answers the call to live a life that continues to awaken her to an inner knowingness and lifts her to a higher level of consciousness. And her recently discovered spiritual catchphrase is, let's go. So thank you in advance, Reverend Deb, for being our speaker tonight. As we do at the center, we open our services always with prayer. And Reverend Deb, will you do the honors tonight?
Actually, I have asked practitioner Alice Knudsen to open us up in prayer today.
All right. And Alice Knudsen is a religious science practitioner and also the director of our Ministry of Prayer. So I'll turn it over to Alice now.
So let us all take a nice deep breath in and go within, just stilling the mind and just focusing on that breath, the breath of life, life itself, God breathing you and breathing me. And so I know that God is everywhere present. There is no spot where God is not. What a joy it is to come together tonight in prayer and to acknowledge this oneness. For there is only one life, and that life is the life of God. That life is perfect. That life is whole. It is complete. And it is my life right here and right now. Oh, what a joy it is to know that Spirit has our back, blessing us every breath we take. All is because of this one divine source of love and life and goodness. And so I bless this time together. I bless our beloved Rev Deb as she speaks tonight about awakening into oneness. And what a treat. I am so looking forward to the wisdom that she always shares so generously, so beautifully. She inspires us. And so we come together tonight in the name of the one and love, and we are filled with peacefulness. This is our theme for this evening, and we come together in joy, and it is good and oh so good. And so please join me in blessing this time together and saying, and so it is. Blessed be.
Ah, thank you, Alice. I appreciate that. That was a beautiful prayer, beautiful opening. And I just want to take this time. Today is September 11th. And I just wanted us just to take a moment to just honor the tragedy that happened. It's been 23 years now when the towers fell and there were a loss of lives. And just take a moment of silence just to honor that memory and that time that has happened, and to even look at where we are in this moment. So just allow yourself to just breathe and just for one moment, just give thanks for this day. Mm. Thank you.
I want to thank you, Reverend Deb, because my cousin was a fireman in New York City when 9/11 took place.
Yeah.
And I spoke with him today. And he was having lunch with those that were left in his unit. But his unit was the first one and his captain that were killed during the 9/11. And I thank you so much for taking that time to honor our firefighters in New York City. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. This helps to honor so many people that were there, that was in the buildings, and the firefighters, the police officers that were there, and even the families that are spread around the world that have lost individuals in that during that time. Um, it's like in this, just thinking about this right now, it's kind of helped to kind of shift my talk a little bit, because what I realized is going back to that time that happened on September 11, 2001, it's, we're talking about peace into oneness. And during that time, once we found out what happened, once we heard what happened and about the lives that were lost, it's how do we, in this place, did we hold peace within ourselves during that time? I remember when I saw the incident on TV as I was preparing for work, and I happened to see them talking about the towers and how they fell. And in that moment, I went into prayer because I didn't know all of the details about what happened. But what I knew was that this tragedy had happened in New York City. And to just be in that space of going into prayer in that moment, it helped to ease me. And I'm hoping that my prayers went out to those individuals that were involved in this devastation that happened. But when we think about that now, it's, where are we with peace? Can we think back to that incident and still be in peace? Can we be in that place with the individuals that crashed the planes into those towers, and with the lives that were lost? Can we be in peace? And I ask that question now because I don't know how many people have thought about that incident. But as I'm looking at this now, or feeling into this right now, does this still come up for individuals, for you all that are here? Does that day still resonate for you in this moment? And if it does, What is it that you're doing to continue to put yourself in that place of peace? So I wasn't planning on starting off with questions, but that's how Spirit guided me. So I'm going to open this up to anyone that wants to share. How does that incident that happened, how does that affect your peace? Does it affect your peace, or did it at that time? And if so, are you able to see the oneness with everyone that's a part of this incident that happened?
I'll
Was there someone speaking?
I don't know, I thought so, but was
Yes, Reverend Deb, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
muted and didn't realize I was muted. But this is Dorothy. I have a difficult time on this day, because 3 days after my cousin went to the hospital to see his mother, who was dying from pancreatic cancer, he was full of all the cement and dust and
Mhm.
everything that was taking place there and in the towers. And he was also a photographer
Mm.
for the fire department, and he has sent me I have lots of pictures of 9/11 and what took place there and what was the rubbish and everything from that time. And I make sure that I connect with him every September the 11th. And today he was having lunch with 3 of the remaining people, firefighters. Lots of the firefighters who were there in 9/11 have died from other diseases caused by the
Yes.
cement, the dust, everything that took place in 9/11. And 3 days after that, I lost my aunt, who died from pancreatic, his mother.
Mm.
And for some reason, I always have a difficult time at 9/11. And I talked to him today for him to help me move through the loss of his mother and my mother's sister, who died 1 year after her sister.
Mm.
So I just can't thank you enough for honoring all of these firemen and families who are still going through this process of
Yes.
losing families from 9/11, not just because they were there, but from the aftermath of what has taken place. Because
Yes.
of these firemen are followed by doctors in New York who were there on the ground. They have to go and meet with their physicians every year to make sure that they are okay and that they don't have cancer
Yes.
and whatever from the dust and the cement and everything that took place at 9/11. It has not ended. It is still going on for families and for these firefighters who were there at 9/11. And thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Miss Dorothy, for sharing that. And that's the thing that, because I know that there are families that are still immersed in this, although it happened 23 years ago. And this is that time for us to be able to, how do we, in this time of where we are, how are we able to see the oneness with the perpetrators and with the victims and with the families and all of that's taken place? How do we see the oneness of God within each and every person? And for some, that's a hard place to be, because there are some people that can't see that oneness with those individuals that created this trauma. And, and this is that time that we have to be able to open up our hearts and to see the God in those individuals, even if we've not. And it still may take some time. And it's okay to be in that space. And it's okay to honor where we're, what we're feeling in this moment. But this is that, and not a but, and this is that time for us to be able to send out love to the world, to the planet right now, because we may not know the individual families, we may not know even the families of those individuals that flew the planes into there. But this is that time for us to be able to send out love to our entire planet right now, to the world, to open up our hearts, to be able to send that love, to be that love, and to make sure that we receive that love as well. So, Ms. Dorothy, thank you for sharing that. Is there anyone else that'd like to share?
Judith,
Dr. Judith, you raising your hand? You're muted.
I'm unmuted now.
Okay.
There's a beautiful song written by Tom Paxton. It's about the firemen. It's about the people coming down to try and get out of the tower. And it has something, this line is something about we were coming down, they continued on up, about the firemen. And it's just, it's kind of a heart-rending song. But I don't know, that song makes me think about God being present there in the midst of it. Yeah. So it's a song it's called The Bravest.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's all. I just want
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because it is about being brave, for those individuals that are out there doing their jobs, the firefighters, the police officers, the people that are there servicing those individuals that survived. It's about being brave. And that's also about how our lives are, about when we're called to step into do what Spirit is calling us to do. And it's about being brave. It's about taking that step, even if we don't know what to do in that moment, that there is something within us that knows exactly how to move us forward. And I can only imagine that those individuals that were there, that survived, that when they were able to be in a place, that they opened their hearts to hug those individuals that they saw around them, and to be able to be loved up in that time. We, as we're going through, there's so much stuff that's happening on our planet right now. And even as I think about with the elections and all the stuff that's happening, that there's a lot of fear that's up. There's a lot of mistrust that's up. There's a lot of opportunities to be loved. There's opportunity to see the oneness in every person that we're interacting with, that we're watching on TV, that we're having any issues with in our lives right now, that this is that time for us to truly step into the oneness of God that's within us, that's within each individual. Because the thing is, like, if we're not able to see the oneness of God within each one of us, within each person that's on this planet, with everything, then there is no peace within us. There are those parts of us that are still scattered out in the world with anger, resentment, with fear, with doubt, with whatever it is that we're putting out there. And as we have those pieces out there in the world, there's no peace within us. So if there's no peace within us, and there's not oneness within us. And so this is that opportunity for us to bring those pieces back to us, as Reverend Sunshine had mentioned on last Sunday. I didn't see the talk. I wasn't there for the talk on this Sunday. I heard it was a very powerful talk. But what I know is that this whole month of, we're talking about pieces into peace. And this whole thing of how are we spread out? How are we sending out our energy out into the world? When we're sending out fear and resentment and anger, how is that coming back to us? And as we send it out, when we get it back, it doesn't feel so good. But this is that opportunity for us to truly tap the spirit that's within us and ask in any situation, even when we wake up first thing in the morning, to set an intention. Reverend Sunshine had shared with me about this exercise that she had mentioned to the congregation on Sunday from Deepak Chopra and from the MetaHuman. It's a 31-day guide to becoming MetaHuman. And it talks about once you wake up, he writes, your life becomes transformed because pure consciousness, which is the field of all possibilities, dawns in your life. Only then does your infinite potential become your personal reality. So when you wake up in the morning, even on this morning, think about what was the first thing that you sent out into the universe? What was the first thought that you had that went out? Was it a place of love? Was it a thought of love? Was it a thought of, oh my gosh, I have to do this today, this today, this today, that busyness that we have on a day-to-day basis? Was it something that happened on yesterday that somebody ticked you off, or you're still holding on to that? In those places, those pieces that are out there, it's taking you out of your oneness with God. This is that time that we get to trust spirit, knowing that it knows exactly what it's doing. We may not think so at the time, but somewhere along the line, we get this reminder or this aha moment. Oh, I was mad at this person because they said this to me or they did this to me. And when we hold on to those feelings, it resonates in our bodies and it creates different kinds of aches and pains and whatever else may be going on. But this is that time that we get to, speaking of Miss Grady, thinking of her, that we get to go within, that we get to set an intention when we wake up in the morning before we even start thinking about what we have on our agenda to do for the day. One of the things that Deepak had mentioned is that when you first are aware of waking up, you open your eyes. And he says, stare at the ceiling without focusing on anything in particular. And then try to keep your eyes open as you focus on this and nothing else. So you're looking at the ceiling, you're focusing on the ceiling, you're just staring at the ceiling, thinking of nothing else. Opening your eyes and staring at the ceiling distracts you from starting to think. So your mind is wide open in this moment. Focusing your attention on keeping your eyes open is the real secret, however. By focusing your attention on keeping your eyes open, your brain has no choice but to block thinking. The effort to stay awake occupies it entirely. Once the steps in this exercise are mastered, you will be in a state of eyes open, no thoughts. It's a significant thing to be still, quiet, calm, and alert, with no ego to defend or story to construct. He says, the more you are aware of how significant the experience actually is, the more insight you will have into your true self. So imagine when you wake up in the morning and just being in that space, being open to the love of God that comes to you, being open to not thinking about what it is that you're to do, not anything about what happened 23 years ago, yesterday, 5 minutes ago, but to be in that space, to be open to allowing spirit to download that love into you. So going back to, again, to the September 11th, 2001, is there anyone else that would like to share what they may have felt this morning or during that time when that incident happened? And if not, what I know is that this is an opportune time for us to always be in prayer. To even when we watch TV, when we watch the news, to always be in prayer, because that prayer is what helps to bring us to that place of oneness. That prayer, as we sending it out into the world, it goes out, and we never know those beings that it hits, that receives that prayer, that love. Even in meditation, to be open to what is that prayer? What is that I'm to send out into the world in this moment? After you've completed that exercise, when you wake up in the morning, before your feet hit the floor, I have to remind myself, for me, it's how do I serve today? How do I show up today in a way that supports me, but also supports others? How do I see the God in everyone that I encounter today? And sometimes that's hard to do. You know, we see even on the freeways as we're driving and how people are driving erratically so many times. And it's how many times do we go to that place of we want to fuss at that person or curse that person out? How many times have we actually gone to the place of, let me just bless them right now. Let me pray for them, praying that they don't hit anyone, praying that people that are around them are safe, praying that they are safe. Sometimes it's hard to go into that place. And sometimes for many, it's easy. It's like automatic. Let me just pray today. Let me pray in this moment. This is that opportunity of oneness. As we go about our day-to-day activities, there are opportunities that may knock us off our feet. It feels like it. And we may forget who and whose we are. But what I know is that we always have a moment, have an instant to go back and say, let me remember God in me. Let me see the God in that person, in these individuals, in this animal, whatever it is, even in nature, to see the God in all of that, in all beings. The thing with the CSL community, we have this thing, it's create a world that works for all. It used to be for everyone. And then they changed it to create a world that works for all, because it's all beings. When you think of animals and nature, it's all beings. Knowing that even as we pass by a tree, we remind ourselves, I am one with that tree. I am that tree. I am that blade of grass. I am, when we go to the ocean, I am that ocean. So even when we see individuals, we recognize I am that person that's right in front of you. And the important thing is like to go into the mirror and to look at and remind yourself, I am one. The God in me is one with this person that I'm looking at in the mirror. There is this time for us to remember the oneness, but remember that it's okay that if we fall apart at times, this is our humanness. We have this moment that we fall apart. I've shared before that I remember there are times that I would go to my house and sit in the corner of my couch sometimes because I felt so distressed or I so stressed out or whatever was going on, didn't feel appreciated or any of that. And by people that I worked with, whomever it was, and I would go into the corner of my couch and I would sit there and I would just, tears would just start falling down. And then I had to bring myself back in that moment to allow myself to be there. Even if like, to get in the bed and so I can just still cry to help to get it out of my system. But I also had to remember that in that place is where we feel a separation from spirit. That we, God, spirit, source, whatever name we want to call it, it doesn't care. But we have a name that we call it. I know I've heard people call it love beauty. But what I know is that there is, in those moments, that separation from God. And the thing that I know is that we can never be separate from God. No matter what it is that we do, we can never be separate from God. And when we remember that, when we come back to that place knowing that we, God and I are one, that is that oneness that happens within each one of us, that we recognize it, that we can move in the world knowing that. And yes, we're going to slip and fall sometimes and forget. And it's okay. And it's okay to come back and say, now that I've had that moment, I'm remembering my oneness with spirit, my oneness with source. I'm remembering that oneness. Because I know no matter what it is that I do, I can never be separate from God. God will never take his love away from me. Although it may feel like parents do, friends do, loved ones take their love away from us, what I know is that God never takes his love away from us. And that is the thing that helps us to keep moving forward at times. When we're in that place of separation, that separation is the thing that keeps us in pieces. And in those pieces, there is no peace. I remember last Sunday when Reverend Sunshine, when she did the symbol, when she said, peace, or was it, I forgot how you did it. It's like pieces, it's like peace or pieces. And so I remember that. And it's when I get into these moments that I feel discouraged, I feel not enough, that I feel separate. How am I bringing myself back to that place of peace? So I'm going to ask you all that question as well. When there are things going on in your world that breaks you out into pieces, what is it that you do to bring yourself back to peace? Does there anyone like to share? We have no takers in this moment. And it's okay, because sometimes we don't know what to do sometimes when we're in those broken places. Sometimes, and that offers us an opportunity to call up a practitioner, to, when you're at church on Sunday, to go to the prayer room, to call someone that will see you and can hold you in that space. Reverend Allie, were you going to say something or?
Oh, no, I was
Oh,
just Standing by in case I needed to recognize someone's hand up.
Gonna say something. This is Sabrina.
Yes.
Thank you, Rev Deb, for such a wonderful talk. And yeah, that place of separation, I'm glad you put it that way, because that seems to be when I start going through my toolkit of different things. I'll try prayer, I'll try song, I'll try Dr. Dan, I'll try here, I'll try a practitioner, until I hit that one piece
Mhm.
that I start to feel aligned again with spirit. So it might not just be one thing. I
Right.
might have to just keep going. And I was actually mentioning that today or yesterday that in ACA, adult children, there's a saying to just do the next right thing. And so I keep just trying to do the next right thing until I start becoming aligned again. And for me, I was feeling a little separated at work. Something at work was making me feel separate. And there was a friend there, Dr. Judith, who was talking about atonement. And I realized I needed to apologize to someone. And when I made that apology, I felt so much lighter. And
Yes.
then the other tools started to kick in and work. I'm complete.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Sabrina. That is a great reminder, because sometimes one tool may not work and we go to something else that may. And there's such a shift that does happen within us. So thank you for sharing that. Is there anyone else that would like to share?
Reverend Sunshine has her hand up.
Okay. Reverend Sunshine?
And this is for pieces, by
Okay,
the way.
thank you. Thank you.
Pieces in peace, and bringing them together. So, I think it depends on what's going on as to what I do, kind of like what Sabrina was talking about. But for me, I've learned to be patient with myself and let it ride out, because I think we can cut it off too quickly. And this is where we can do a type of bypass to force ourselves to feel better now. And I think there has to be a balance, but I believe that there's merit in allowing whatever is churning to flow and to not resist it, to lean into it, to relax and let it go, and remember what you know and who you are to the best of your ability. And then as you work with your tools, then it's more sustainable, as opposed to trying to apply your tools too quickly and then it not work. Like I talked about recently, I was flipping around one night, couldn't sleep, and I was going through all kinds of affirmations and it still wasn't working. So I had to just let it go until an affirmation or reading came to me that soothed my soul. Then I was able to, like, it worked, and then I went to sleep. So it kind of depends, is what I would say. I'm complete.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes, it is. So thank you for that reminder, because it is about what helps to soothe us as we're going through these processes. Is there anyone else that would like to share?
Alice has got her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, one of my real buttons is when people are in traffic. And just, this is a button. And I admit it, I am so human around this. So I just have a really hard time when they want to run me over. There's nowhere to get over, and they want to be in my spot. And so I was on the way to service on Sunday, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to do this today. I'm going to take responsibility for my peace of mind. I am not going to let myself get ruffled. I'm going to just breathe through it. And I did that. And on the way home, wasn't so good on the way home. I did get irritated. However, at the end, when I did sort of get irritated, I stopped and I said to myself, you know, it's okay. It's really okay, because you did a really good job of not letting yourself get all ruffled in the morning, and you can do it again next time. So, but what really came to mind was I'm responsible for my own peace and my own peace of mind. And sometimes things happen and I just can't do it. But I don't have to be victimized by it. So, but I felt so proud of myself that I did not. I just said, I am not going to look in my rearview mirror right now and let this person intimidate me. I'm just going to have some peace. Thank
Alice, you did a fabulous job on Sunday, okay? I love you. Love you, sweetheart.
I'm complete.
Thank you for that, Alice. And there are times there are, even some of the smallest things that could tick us off and, take us out of our element. And again, it's like, that's the human aspect of who we are. And it's like, and sometimes like we curse them out, or it's like, or people get angry. And it's like, and I've seen people go chase after somebody else on the freeway, and it creates more disharmony than peace. And so we want to make sure that, in this place of being at peace, this oneness, to come back to that place of center, to come back to, in the anger, to feel out whatever it is that we're feeling, to be in that space. And as Reverend Sunshine mentioned, it's not about a spiritual bypass. So we get to feel whatever it is. And sometimes it might take a couple of days for us to get through that. But we have to allow ourselves to find something that helps to bring us back to that center, that brings us to that place of peace, that brings us back to connecting with spirit that's within us. Because when we're in meditation, when we're allowing ourselves to connect with spirit within us, and I know sometimes the little monkey mind chattery goes on because we're in meditation and all of a sudden the incident happens or things that we need to do starts permeating our awareness. But what it is that, how do we bring that back? How do we bring that back to be able to hear spirit within us? And as we ask, what's our next step? What is it that I'm to do? What is it that I'm to know about a situation or about a person? When we're in that oneness with spirit, we can hear that. We can tap into it and feel it and know, oh, this is what I'm to do. But if we're angry and have these conversations going through our head, we're not listening to whatever else is being advised to us or recommended to us that spirit is giving us. We kind of like, no, I don't want to hear that right now. But I'm in meditation, but I don't want to hear that right now. So there are many tools that we get to use. And sometimes it's like one of my tools is I go to the water. I'm glad I'm back in Oakland right now, that I have an abundance of water that's around me. And I'll go to the water. And in that place, and I may not have to get in the water, but I'm at the water. And it allows me to settle into and to breathe and to sometimes it's like whatever I need to say is kind of like I'm speaking it out into the water. And it's like, okay, wash this away because I don't need to hold on to this anymore. And allow me to be able to hear what spirit is saying to me. So is there anyone else that'd like to share what their tools may be, or what they may do, or that they could offer, or something that they would like to do when they get into those places of fear or anger or whatever it is, and they can't quite bring themselves back? No other hands in this moment.
Judith?
Oh, Miss Judith, go ahead. You're muted. Okay. You're
Okay.
muted, Dr. Judith.
Now I'm on.
There we
Okay,
go.
Okay.
okay.
This is at the beginning of the end of September or the beginning of October. This is a very tender time of year for those who grew up Jewish, because this is Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and during those 10 days, we look at this kind of stuff, and how did I do this past year? How was I able to do it? What did I learn there, and what changes was I able to make? And sometimes there are actually people that we come across, people that we needed to actually make a amends to for having been in a situation with them and blown up or something. And so it's a very powerful time, because I take it seriously, even though I don't do many other things about practicing Judaism, but I take this time of year seriously. And I look at my life, and I look at how I interact with other people, and how often I thought of God in the middle of that interaction, or how often, or did I just, let some reaction take place? And anyway, it's just that it's a time of year when I can look at everything that you've been talking about today, and to start off my next year, because that's what we do. We take care of what we needed to, if there's something from the previous year, and on the very last day of Yom Kippur, we make our peace with God. And so that is this is the time for me to look at all of the things that you're talking about, and how am I using it, my connection with God, and how, when did I forget? Sometimes step off the path. So I was really glad to hear your talk, because it's an important time of year, and that's an important information to put into it, what you're talking about tonight.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Judith. So as we move to wrap up for tonight, I just want to read something that is a part for this talk that we have in regards to the oneness of spirit. And what it says is, when we have a grand rising and see the oneness in God, in everyone, with compassion, we can transform how we see and experience the world into one of peace and love. So I'm going to read that one more time. When we have a grand rising and see the oneness of God in everyone, and actually I'm going to add in everything, with compassion, we can transform how we see and experience the world into one of peace and love. So I am just grateful for this time that I've had with you all. Thank you all for everyone that has shared. Thank you for the tender hearts for tonight. And even as you go through the rest of this evening, the rest of this week, just remember to tap into, to connect to the oneness of God that is within you, that there is no separation between you and God, that we are all one. Each and every one of us is on the screen. We are all one. We're all connected. And so I'm grateful for that time. And with that, I am complete with my talk. And namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Deb,
Thank
for
you,
a
Reverend Deb.
wonderful evening.
Let's
Thank
give
you
Reverend
so
Deb a little
much.
bit of love.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Give her a lot of love here. Thank you, Reverend Deb.
Thank you.
Wonderful to bring in 9/11, that opportunity it gives us, because it's a difficult time to look at how we're doing and bringing it oneness to it and compassion and all the things that are difficult in those times. So thank you again. We're going to transition now to our menu of opportunities for y'all to be all excited and involved about what's going on at OCSL. So the first thing we do want to start our announcements with, again, acknowledging that this is 9/11. It's the 23rd anniversary of the 9/11 tragedy, and we want, especially in this day, to send blessings to anyone and everyone who was affected by this incident. This Sunday, September 15th at OCSL, Dr. Joel Herrera, religious science practitioner, will be speaking on the topic Om Shanti Om. The meditation starts at 10 and the service will start at 10:30. On Wednesday, September 18th, Midweek Oasis, our own practitioner, Alice Knutson, will have us engage in a deeper conversation on that same topic, Om Shanti Om. The meditation's at 6:30 and the service is at 7, all on Zoom. You can go to oaklandcsl.org and click services for the Zoom link. So please think about joining our 2024 daily community spiritual practice with the Abundance Book, a 40-day prosperity plan by John Randolph Price. Today, we're on the 15th day of the program using the 5th affirmation in the book, and you can just follow along daily in the order that the affirmations appear. The OCSL Social Justice Ministry Listening Circle will be held on Sunday, September 22nd. We're actually not quite sure if it goes from 1 to 3 or 1 to 3:30. Maybe Reverend Sunshine, since you're here, if you know and want to chime in, you might want to do that.
I think this is right. If I'm not mistaken, there was a question about that.
Whether the Social Justice Ministry Circle goes from 1 to either 3 or 3:30.
I think it's 3:30.
Okay. We're thinking it's 3:30. So it'll be in the social hall, and it'll be a discussion of our beloved community's vision for creating a world that works for all and a center that is intentionally inclusive for all. The Women's Spiritual Empowerment Group is back, and that will be with Reverend Jerry Carter and Reverend Catherine Sachs. They're starting a new 4-week series, September 29th, October 6th and 20th, and November 10th. You can sign up on the groups page at oaklandcsl.org. You might want to join the growing movement of My Election Intention, 100 Days of Mindful Practice, which runs from July 28th through November 4th. Tune out fear and tune in vision, with 10 somatic healing principles based on the book What It Takes to Heal by Prentice Hemphill. If you want to join in this daily spiritual practice, just text JOIN to the number, which I think is on your screen. Yeah, 470-784-0250, and you'll get a daily inspirational phone call or voicemail message. It's not too late to join, and all the previous messages are available on the website at myelectionintention.com. And then mark your calendars for the Quick Start class on Science of Mind starting January. I'm in the wrong month. Starting Saturday, September 21st and ending Saturday, September 28th. It'll go from 10 to 12:30. This class is a requirement for those who would like to be new members and a refresher for others. And registration is available now on the oaklandcsl.org events page. And again, please consider our chair dedication campaign. You have the opportunity to create your own inscribed plate that will go on the back of a chair in our sanctuary, our social hall. There are 4 levels to choose from $50 to $500, and from 2 lines of inscription to 5 lines, as you can see on our PowerPoint slide that's being shown right now. You can include yourself, your family, friends, ancestors, organizations in the dedication. And you can also share lines with someone else if you want to reduce the cost. So go to the oaklandcsl.org events page to place your order. And our silent auction was so successful last year that we're doing it again. The kickoff date is Friday, September 27th, and it runs through October 29th. We welcome your donations of products and services and hope you'll get nice and creative. And we welcome any bids for all the items that will be available online. We're hoping this will be a lot of fun for our community. Please visit the events page on our website for more information. Our nonprofit partner for September is RISE, the Rural India Student Education Foundation, which provides high-quality education and opportunities for children who would otherwise not have access. Today, the RISE school has over 300 children enrolled from kindergarten through 8th grade. There are over 14 classrooms, a computer and science lab, a library, a large playground, and transport vehicles. Visit indiarise.org for more information. The Spirit Treasure Bookstore is having a store-wide sale for the month of September with 40% off on all books and 30% off of all merchandise. Since we can only cover so many announcements, you can also visit csl.org to see what's happening in our Centers for Spiritual Living global community. And then finally, please visit our website, oaklandcsl.org, and sign up for our weekly newsletter, The Village News. Remember to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook for special updates. And while you're there, please like and subscribe to Oakland Center for content that you can only find by liking and subscribing. On our PowerPoint slide, you'll see our contact team, all the folks you may need to get hold of for various reasons, facilities, administrative, bookkeeping, our senior minister, all sorts of, Alice, our director of our Ministry of Prayer, and everyone else who's on there. So now we'd like to transition to our time for conscious giving. So conscious giving is a celebration. It's an expression of gratitude. It's a spiritual practice. It's a way to put our spiritual intentions into action. In giving, we both celebrate our community and express gratitude for all the folks who give their time and talent and treasure to sustain OCSL. We also acknowledge our place in the flow of universal power and abundance. And we put all of our intentions for greater experiences of abundance into action. So in that spirit, please follow along as I read the giving affirmation. And if you're muted, please feel free to read out loud with me. Joyously I give with an attitude of abundance, knowing that as I give, I do receive. And so it is. If you would like to submit an offering tonight, please find the donate icon on our website's homepage. And once you're there, you'll see all sorts of ways to give. Check by mail and credit card and Zelle and QR codes. You can just do a different one each time. And while we're in a spirit of appreciation, we'd like to show our appreciation for those who have offered their time and talents and presence to tonight's service. Our speaker, Reverend Deb Hammond, our meditator, who is also Reverend Deb, Alice Knutson, who did our opening prayer, and I think Reverend Sunshine might be doing our closing prayer. I've been told that that might be our surprise for tonight. We'd like to thank Reverend Sunshine for being present and offering her presence to tonight's service. Our tech team, Peter Gum, Alice Herndon, and Alice Knutson, and our tech team lead, who is operating in the background always, Peggy Cotton, again in the background, our administrative coordinator, Steve Carter, Paul Prosciutti, who normally does these Wednesday nights and is on a well-deserved leave of absence. We don't want to forget him. And finally, all of you who were here tonight who made this possible. And now I would like to turn this over to Reverend Sunshine. I think we'll be doing, she's nodding, we'll be doing our closing prayer.
Yes, thanks, Rev Ali. Thanks, Rev Deb, for inviting me or asking me to do the closing prayer. And thanks, everybody, for coming. We wouldn't do this without you, and y'all are so consistent and regular and so much appreciated. So, as we continue in this consciousness of abundance, this consciousness of compassion and heart and love and oneness and joy and jubilation and caring, and there's so many other qualities of spirit that we seek to embrace and embody more fully, that we continually aspire to, and that we know is available for us to simply express in each and every given moment as we open more into the fullness of the eternal presence of spirit. We do so with gratitude. We do so with knowing that this is an eternal and infinitely sustaining and giving way of being in God that we all have access to. And so we simply continue to open up into it, to invite it into our spirit, mind, body, soul, and our affairs. We are it regardless. And we can continue to invite it and welcome it and see more of it, for that which we look for, we find. And we look for the love and the abundance and the wholeness and the joy and all the goodness of God, and waking up to oneness for us to never be asleep to it again. And with this, we do so with gratitude, with knowing that God goes before us and prepares the way. No matter where we're going or what we're doing, we go with safety and protection, and that we go with our eyes wide open, with our hearts wide open, with our ears and our minds wide open to spirit, to pour itself into us and demonstrate this good through our experience tangibly, where we can enjoy it and be fulfilled and satisfied by it and give it back, so that we can get it again and receive it again, and we give it back because we believe in the law of circulation and we are a part of that circulation. So with this, we simply cast this word up collectively together into the divine ethers of love and law, knowing that it partners with us and makes it so. And so all we need to do is stand ready and open and willing in joyous celebration of the good and the good news, the great news that is always forthcoming in our lives. We let that be, and we let that be well, right here and right now for us all. And so it is.
Oh, it is.
So it is. Yes.
All right.